Imagine biggest game of your life, crowd roaring, heart is racing. Suddenly, you know, you actually feel and notice the thousand things you have to manage at once, the thousand people around you, the scoreboard, the strategy, the noise, your own nerves. And in that moment, the pressure is hitting down, pushing down, crushing. And that is the time that some athletes spiral and others rise. But the difference between them is who can stay composed and trust themselves when it feels like it is too much. And today we are training for that exact skill, going through 4 mental exercises to lock them in. Hey y'all, welcome to the Mental Performance Playbook, breaking down elite mental strategies, delivering them in actionable exercises so you can apply them immediately. My name is Gabe Rummel, mental performance coach, founder of The Athlete's Health, creator of our From Noack Gym, our training, where we are training your mind just like you would train your body. Each week we have a theme and a focus on a mental performance topic that'll help you, the athlete, or a parent, or a coach, these practical tools or exercises that we call them to build stronger focus, confidence, resilience, handling the pressure. And this week's theme is about staying composed and building that confidence when we're overwhelmed, right? And what I just said at the very start is an overwhelming thought and statement of our situation. And that's what we're going to cover here today, because sometimes we got a lot on our plate. I got a lot on my plate right now, and I thought it would be a good time to drop some exercises on how we can keep things going, to keep the initiative happening, how to keep playing, even if we are feeling a little overwhelmed for a little bit. So without further ado, let's dive deep into staying composed and building that confidence when overwhelmed. And I just gotta, first and foremost, just make sure I point out new merch is coming in. The Athlete's Health, TAH, on the back. The Athlete's Health, clarity, confidence, composure, one more rep down the back, making like a big T, and it's pretty cool, pretty awesome to see. Limited supply, but I know they're getting out to some athletes, to some TH Titans, and we are dropping these out. So this is just the start of the apparel. We're gonna get a lot more coming here as the business keeps growing, but just want a quick shout out to all you guys for helping support and everything else. Exercise number 1. I'm going to keep going through our framework as we have been evolving this podcast, is just drop the exercise right away. Okay, talk a little bit about it and get into the actual steps, how you do it. Just like for a squat, you might bend the knees and bend the hips, sit down, breathe in, pause for a second, push everything up, toes, you just name it. Going through those steps for each exercise here as well. So hopefully you can go out there and try and actually use them. Exercise number 1 is the mental reset button. And everything is going to feel like spiraling. So it comes back to how quickly can you hit this button, hit the brakes, and get back in control. And I use this Formula One racing reference where drivers have to make split decisions. And they're going 200 miles an hour. Like, talk about fast and quick decisions. If something goes wrong, they cannot panic. They actually have a reset sequence that they use. And I'm going to break this down, but it's identify the issue, it's stabilize it, it's breathe, it's refocus. And we can do the same thing in a high pressure moment that we are in. But for instance, let's say there's a crash up ahead, or they have to maneuver a couple things. They have to identify it without panicking. Okay, and they have to do it immediately, and they can't panic, because the next thing they gotta do is stabilize the car. Right? They're not just driving themselves; they are driving a big vehicle at very fast paces. So they have to do this, stabilize the position, so then they avoid further risk and further damage. Now, to stay calm, they really focus on their breath. They do deliberate breathing to slow the heart rate, and then it regains their precision play, their precision on what they're doing. And then they can refocus on the next racing line or the next corner, rather than just replaying that mistake of whatever may have happened if they drove off their line for a second or whatever the case is. So we don't just have to replace the problem, and it's not about erasing the problem. It's about instantly regaining control, so then we can keep performing at elite levels, right? If we're going with the car reference, if it's like a red light moment where we are feeling those signs of overwhelm, maybe it's tight chest, maybe it's thoughts scattering, maybe it's rushing decisions. We know we're in this red light state. We're going with this car metaphor. And for a quick breathing, 5 second reset. Inhale for 4, exhale for just boom, a long exhale. Because I know sometimes we have to do it quick. Inhale quick, big, exhale quick, big. Pair it even with the command. We're going to come back to that in a second, but reset, lock in, whatever would work for you. And then resume the action with a clear priority and clear action step instead of a whole pile of what you got to do or what you have to accomplish, or just remember on the back mistake, right? We don't have 27-3 comebacks if we're looking at the whole pile. No, we're chipping away at it. Okay, if it's a crucial free throw and we catch ourselves panicking about the scoreboard, hit the reset button, walk through this quick reset, focus on your form, on the breath, take the free throw. I was just hooping this morning, had to come back to some of these for when the few times my team lost. But that's exercise 1, right? The mental reset button. Use the Formula 1 racers reference. Exercise 2 is 1 play, 1 rep, and this is all we need to do and all we need to win. Okay, if you can't win, you cannot win the whole game in one moment. So why do you let your brain act like you can? Why do we put the whole pressure of the game on one moment when, depending on the sport, there's 90 minutes, there's 60 minutes, there's just however long it takes to get through the course, you name it. Okay, so why do we put the whole pressure on one play, especially as it gets closer to the end? That makes sense, but we don't need to. Steph Curry, throughout his whole whole game, it's just a next shot mentality. Never trying to win the whole game with a single possession, just trying to get that next shot up, make the next 3 probably for him. Maybe it's a layup, maybe it's a runner, but it's the next shot mentality. It's the next swing mentality. We got to break these into micro goals here for following steps. Be right back. Sometimes that cat will do that. Okay, we got to break these into the micro goals, the next steps, the next conversation, and just the next one. Not the whole thing, not the whole ordeal, but just the very next play. Maybe just ask ourselves, what is my next best action? What is the next best thing that we can do? And go do it, right? Give ourselves permission to let go of everything else until that step is done. And that's a big piece. Give yourself permission to not worry about the end score. If to get to that, you have to do X, Y, and Z on these next 3 steps to even get close to the end score. Don't worry about the end score. Give yourself permission to let go of that and then solely work on that first step, second step, and third step that we just talked about. Right? Like if you have 7 assignments, you have 2 practices and an upcoming tournament, you got a lot of stuff going on. Okay. But you have to first, if you're at practice and you still have the 7 assignments and you got a tournament next week, you have to lock in on completing the warm-up first and then move on to the next task. And that's where it comes to the essence. No matter how big your to-do list, got one right there, it's just the very next step that we need to make sure that we can do. And that is why we're calling it 1 play, 1 rep for exercise 2. Exercise 3 is our confidence bank deposits. We want to deposit into our confidence bank, because I phrase this in a question of if confidence, what if it is not something that you just hope for, but it's something that you actually build daily? Because confidence comes before the play itself. We need to build it up. Yes, it is during the game too, but that's also where we stay composed. If we don't have composure, then in the game, we definitely don't have confidence. Confidence comes before the games. Navy SEALs often talk about trusting your training, right? They've stacked so many small wins. They put themselves in such stressful situations in actual practice and going through what certain situations would be like, that their confidence feels unshakable. And then going into an actual mission or assignment, they are confident. And then when they're in there, of course they're confident, but they're staying composed because they have stacked up the confidence. And we can put this in our same way for any of our performances that we have going on. Okay. And if we need to do this, we come back to the reflect and things that we always talk about, to the 3 G's per instance, of maybe for the end of the day, Just write down 3 things you executed well, 3 things that you went through well. Review this list then. Maybe you were stacking these day in, day in, day in, day in, or for the whole week. And then you have a high pressure game coming up. You remind yourself that you have been here before, because you can see all those other times that you actually have been, right? This is used as proof when the self-doubt starts to creep in. So if you have a big tryout or it's the start of the season, build up the confidence bank, ideally before it, right? Now you can start doing it. So then we can refer back to the confidence bank and remember all of the wins that led you to that specific spot of being able to be in the tryouts and going with it, testing it out, implementing it. So implement this confidence bank and put the deposits in there for exercise number 3. Then exercise number 4, to help the composure and confidence to build that up when we are overwhelmed, is an anchor. I referenced it in exercise number 1. Maybe we can skim and scan it throughout all these exercises, but it's when that pressure spikes. We got to find one spike or one thought that really steadies us. I also call this a motto, right? And my or my MVPs, this is the motto. This is the thing that we just keep coming back to when we need to, and we gotta keep something there. So Serena Williams always have a keyword between her points to really keep her center and composed and poised. When I was going through my big hike on Pikes Peak, I thought wouldn't be too bad. My anchor phrase was, "No one's coming to save you." And I repeated that to myself. I literally don't know how many times. It had to have been in the hundreds. So there's a good couple mile stretch there that and that was my anchor phrase to keep me going, to just take it to the next step, to just stay composed. Okay. No one's going to save you. That's just what I kept saying. So this one's a pretty simple one to do, but we have to make sure we keep with it. It's a short, steady phrase, something that works for you. Calm and strong. Trust my game. Shoot your shot. Swing your swing. It's whatever will work. But then we repeat it for sure in high pressure moments and any other moment too. Okay, but make sure we're doing it in those high pressure moments. Maybe we put a slow exhale or deep breathe with it, deepen that effect with it, pair it with something actual physical. That's what we like to do. That's our VTO, vision it, touch it, own it, but stack this up. So then during a chaotic timeout or just chaotic time when you have a quick break, repeat your phrase silently to yourself. You block out all the noise. You're grounding yourself. You're getting calm. Obviously, if you're in the zone, if you're flowing, you won't probably need this, but it's when you are out of the zone. It's how we get ourselves back in the zone, right? That is what this anchor phrase is. It's anchoring us back to that zone thought process and the zone situation. So to recap here, whether you're overwhelmed or not, or more specifically, when you are overwhelmed, the key is to really shrink that chaos and then amplify your trust in yourself, right? Because you're not driving a car, you're driving yourself. So we add that mental reset button, like the Formula One cars, right? So instead of a car, it's you. Act on just that one clear priority. That is the next step. We got the one play, one rep, right? We're breaking big situations into the micro goals, going back to that next step, so we can just focus on the next best action and then just release of everything else until that one's done and we move on to the next one. That ties us into the end of the day, that confidence bank, and depositing into it, where we can write down those 3 daily wins, review them before pressure moments, and then use them to combat self-doubt. And lastly, whenever we need it, start training it up with that anchor phrase, tie it to something physical too, but it's that phrase that gets you back to that zone, to help you get back to the zone, to stay composed, to keep that heart rate a little lower, repeat it in the high pressure moments and the regular moments. So then in the high pressure moments, it's more so knows what to do. It's connected. And pair it even with that exhale if we're not going to do something physical with it, but keep that going to keep the composure. So I want to just make sure too, we know that the overwhelm will go away. Use these exercises, and if you want to turn them into second nature, check out our training inside the Athlete's Health for Noah Gym. Get those mental exercises hardwired in you so that composure and that confidence is second nature no matter the chaos. My name is Gabe Rummel. Catch you next week on the Mental Performance Playbook here. Peace.